What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical, average American here today to react and learn about King Charles III's new Cypher design. Until I saw the title of this video, I really didn't realize that there was a royal Cypher, that was a thing, that apparently Queen Elizabeth had one. But looking at this first frame here of the video, that way, I have seen that symbol. I definitely didn't know what this was, but apparently it's a cipher. I don't know what its purpose is necessarily, so I'm interested to learn about maybe the purpose of this, the history behind it, how important this is, and apparently when a new monarch comes in, like King Charles, they redesign it. I don't know if the E probably stands for Elizabeth, so maybe his has a C in it, or how they even decide on the design. Anyway, there's a lot of interesting things going on here, so I'm interested. Can you blame me? So let's take a look. King Charles III's new cipher design. Pretty interesting.
You probably saw this symbol a lot in the days following Queen Elizabeth's passing, her royal cipher. Now Britain has a new king, and along with all the pomp and circumstance come all the little details of installing a new monarch, including a new cipher, King Charles's personal monogram.
Oh, personal monogram. Goodness. Okay, well this is it. Is this it? Well, even the crown is different. Actually, the whole thing is in color. It's a little more detailed. I don't know. Is this it? Well, let's continue.
So in this video, I'm going to break down its design, what makes for a good monogram, and see how his compares with those of the late Queen, Britain's former monarchs, and the other 6 remaining kingdoms of Europe.
Ah, cool. What exactly is a cipher? Well, he's also using the word monogram. Monogram. If I look that up, what is a monogram? Kitchen appliance? No. A motif made by overlapping or combining 2 or more letters to form one symbol. That is exactly what that is, isn't it? Okay. And a cipher. Well, he's going to explain that.
There is a litany of symbols and icons associated with royalty, all with very specific heraldic terminology. That's a whole can of worms that I'm not going to crack open today. There are many resources on YouTube where you can learn more about heraldry.
Yeah, like this is something I'm more familiar with, if I can skip ahead. A coat of arms or something. Sometimes flags even have them on it. But this seems more like an individual symbol. A cipher. It's kind of cool.
There are many resources on YouTube where you can learn more about heraldry. Nerd recognize nerd, but I'm going to disregard all the heraldic jargon and focus on sharing my own perspective as a graphic designer. That's because in many ways, the royal cipher acts as the monarch's logo. In fact, if you search for Queen Elizabeth logo, these are the Google image results.
That's like the perfect way to put it, isn't it? Yeah, I wonder who actually gets to be the person to design this. And, well, now she had a crown as well. Maybe these are kind of similar. The Queen's
Through her
cipher.
70-year reign, the E2R cipher served as the Queen's personal brand. It was emblazoned everywhere from the throne where she was coronated to maps for her lying in state. Her cipher was...
Wait, it was emblazoned on the throne? Does that mean each new monarch gets their own throne?
Throne where she was...
Yeah, there it is. Look at that. It's just kind of a super fancy chair, so I guess they can whip one of those up, no problem. Every 70 years.
To maps for her lying in state. Her cipher was used by agencies ranging from the Postal Service to the police and armed forces.
Oh, wow. So it's kind of a big deal. It's kind of annoying, too. I'm sure no one actually minds that much. But it's an official, sort of tedious process to... They gotta replace all this stuff now, I imagine. Replace it with the new cipher. Interesting.
On grand palaces and mundane office buildings, monuments to memorabilia. Whether you support or oppose the
It's on monuments? It's in the cement? Look at that. Someone built that. That's not easy to replace. Right there. Wow. Okay.
Monuments to memorabilia. Whether you support or oppose the monarchy, if you lived in Britain or any part of its former empire, you're likely familiar with this design, even if you never knew that it was called a cipher.
Yeah.
Monograms are becoming rarer over time, but famously the logos for the New York Yankees.
Wait, he had a little text explainer pop up for half a second. I caught it though. Oh, if I can rewind this. Come on. A little further. For the pedants? Monograms and ciphers differ in that monograms are two or more letters, and ciphers are just letters that have been interwoven. Oh, get out of here with the technicalities.
The logos for the New York Yankees, General Electric, and Louis Vuitton are all monograms.
Yeah.
Given the ubiquitous usage of the royal cipher, it needs to be a robust piece of graphic design. The franking of mail from Buckingham Palace will be the first use of Charles's new cipher. That's a very small, low-fidelity, black and white format.
It is a logo. It's a freaking logo. Look at that. For the king. That's kind of cool. They're well designed. I gotta give it, like, they always look pretty nice, don't they? But the whole letter on a letter thing, I just realized that's a really reliable way to get a nice looking kind of symbol. Just put one letter on another and it seems to always look pretty good.
One of the worst case scenarios for any design. But the cipher also has to work for ornate applications like ceremonial uniforms, oversized on the side of buildings, and even for specialty techniques like stone masonry and cast iron street furniture.
Yeah. The Cypher of King Charles. Okay.
The Royal College of Arms is an institution that deals with coats of arms and other aspects of heraldry, and they've been designing the royal cipher since the 15th century.
Oh, goodness. There's like a whole official department in charge of this. And it does have to do with the coat of arms. I was kind of on the right track there.
In particular, this one was designed by the calligrapher, heraldry artist, and coin designer Timothy Node. When compared to his late mother's cipher, the king's design is immediately distinguishable due to the interwoven C for Charles and R for Rex.
Oh, this is cool. The comparison. And the crowns are different. Why is that exactly? I did learn a bit about the different crowns and royal artifacts, but why would King Charles have one crown and Elizabeth have the other? They must be just different crowns from the royal artifacts. And it does make, well, if you've ever seen a chessboard, they use that style of crown, actually, for Elizabeth. I don't know if that has to do with her being female and Charles being male, or if that matters or anything. I don't know. And it's cool how they put the second and the third into the monogram.
Unlike Elizabeth's, which had the E and R separated with the Roman numeral 2, the Roman 3 is nestled within the counterspace of the letter R in the new cipher.
Yeah.
As a monogram, it strikes a nice balance between the positive and negative space, and the interweaving between R and C is well executed, with the R's stem resting above the C on the left, and the C sitting atop the R's leg on the right.
I have to say, I really like Charles' monogram. I like this. It's smaller than Elizabeth's. I'm not going to say which one I like better. I'm not going to go there. But this one is a little tighter, smaller. You could put it on a little tiny stamp and just stamp anything you want with your monogram. This is mine.
The alternating back and forth between the two helps to integrate them into a cohesive figure while still being readable. This is actually harder to pull off than it looks. There's an art to finding a way to make the letters knit together without breaking up the shapes that make them distinctive.
Yeah.
Take a look at this monogram from the Toronto Transit Commission to see how this kind of thing can easily go wrong. These letters don't alternate in front and behind each other, they just sit stacked on top of one another.
Yeah.
Instead of creating an interlaced monogram, it looks like a jumbled pile of letters.
Yeah.
Because the positive and negative space weren't considered, it feels cramped and awkward, and the letter forms become fractured.
Well, plus they said that they basically have that individual who's been in charge of designing these kinds of things for that department for a long time, and he's designed coins and other things, so it's really valuable having someone like that. It's going to be a shame when he's gone, because I love the new Charles monogram.
Most clearly with this tiny sliver of a C poking out from the back. Fortunately, the artisans at the College of Arms did a much better job with the King's monogram. It feels like a real step up from the outgoing one. It's more compact and elegant by comparison, with more delicate lettering. When we
Yeah.
compare the two R's side by side, we can see that the overall stem weight is lighter, the serifs
Oh.
are finer, the bowl has been enlarged, and the leg is more curved than the late Queen's.
Wow, we are getting into the nitty-gritty here. But as far as graphic design goes, I have to agree. Even the choice of the font and the weight of the letter and thickness is a little more modern, a little more elegant.
No doubt Timothy Node's calligraphic background was a great asset in designing this. Speaking of calligraphy and lettering, if that's something you'd like to try for yourself, you're in luck, because I've just created a short course on how...
I bet you, I'm probably going to skip his ad, by the way, his Photoshop ad. But I bet you having Queen Elizabeth's cipher for the last 70 years, everyone's probably so used to it. It being on all the stuff it needs to be on everywhere. It's probably strange having that go away and having King Charles cipher introduced and replacing all that. It's probably strange to a lot of people in Britain, isn't it?
I also want to take a moment to thank Envato for sponsoring this video.
Oh, geez, this just keeps going. Okay, I don't blame him on the hustle, the sponsorship hustle. The challenge with crowns. Yeah, the cipher includes a crown above it. I hope he talks about that.
Another new design feature is a change of crown.
Yeah.
Whereas Elizabeth used St. Edward's crown, King Charles has two versions of his cipher, one featuring the Tudor crown and the other featuring the Scottish crown for use in Scotland.
There you go. I knew it was different crowns, I just had forgotten the names of them. But they did. It's amazing how they have such distinctive looks to them. Really changes it all.
Side note, Queen Elizabeth also had a Scottish variant of her cipher, but it was rarely used. The initials E2R come from her decision to adopt the royal style of Elizabeth II. However, Scotland never had an Elizabeth I. They had their own Queen, Mary, Queen of Scots at the time. It's quite a touchy subject, and naturally when the Royal Mail first installed postboxes in Scotland with Elizabeth II on them, people were less than impressed. In fact, they were so unimpressed that in Edinburgh, they blew up a pillar-style postbox with gelignite. Following that, the postboxes and postal vans in Scotland only displayed the Scottish crown with no royal cipher. We'll see if Charles decides to put his cipher on Scottish postboxes anytime in the future.
Oh, wow. Interesting. I've been hearing more and more stuff recently, very limited, but about Scottish independence from maybe the UK or something, and hearing this now, that Scotland didn't want to recognize Elizabeth as the second Elizabeth, but as the first, and was kind of upset about the cipher blowing up blowing up mailboxes out of protest, kind of confirms that for me. Is that a thing? Is that kind of a thing? I wonder what they'll do this time around.
A crown can be rather difficult to work with as a graphic. After all, its purpose is to be as elaborate and ornamental as possible, the polar opposite of a clean and clear pictographic approach.
Yeah.
It can be difficult to render with a proper amount of detail to be clearly understood and recognized, but simple enough to reduce down for production at small size. To help with this, the black and white version of the cipher has fewer pearls along the top, 7, 4, and 7, than the full-color painted version, which has 9, 5, and 9.
Yeah, this is an art all in and of itself. Taking this complicated crown and simplifying it where it's still recognizable of what crown it is specifically, but that it's simplified into this symbolic sort of logo form.
We've talked about how many places the Queen's cipher was used. Many of those will now need to be replaced with the King's cipher, gradually over time.
Yeah.
However, one place they will not be replaced directly is on postboxes. Postboxes bearing previous monarchs' ciphers have historically been left alone, mostly because a cast iron postbox is meant to last many lifetimes. Indeed, it's possible to find ones dating back to Queen Victoria still in use.
Wow,
So let's
that's kind of cool, actually. I like that. It's like an homage, a nod to previous kings and queens. some of the older metallic post boxes where you can find some. They're like a part of history at that point.
Let's review some of those historic ciphers to see exactly what they were like.
Okay. Oh, ciphers of the past.
Queen
Okay.
Victoria's cipher, the first to appear on postboxes, integrates the two letters by using the right half of the V to form the stem of the R.
they were trying. They were trying back then, weren't they? It's definitely very raw, very old school.
Now, I understand it's a different time, different aesthetic, of course, but honestly for me, this is very ugly. The line work is wobbly and spidery, and those spirally curls are certainly not doing it for me.
Yeah.
Edward VII is hardly an improvement.
No, I think this is a major improvement. Actually, it's very symmetrical. Maybe that's what it is. It's and all of the curves are kind of in proportion to each other. I think this is decent.
It's practically impossible to read because the E and R are just fighting so hard with one another.
Okay, yeah, you can't read it. That's true. But as a weird symbol, if you're just looking at it as a symbol, it's unique.
That said, this design makes a lot more sense when it's not reduced to a flattened two-dimensional form. It works rather well as this over-the-top ornament on the gates of Buckingham Palace, but in this
Wow.
more mundane form, not so much. There's very little to say about George V's postbox cipher, but this more obscure postmark version has a lot of charm that we'll actually talk about when we get to the next George.
Hold on. Look at this thing. It's like they opened Word and used the default font. Capital G, capital R. We're done. There it is.
But between them, Edward VIII had a very short reign, so I'll keep it short. His cipher looks like the masthead from Mad Magazine. You can see the influence of the previous George in the cipher of George VI, but the lovely symmetry of the bowl of the R and G is lost to add this superfluous loop, and the parallel angles of the stems are also gone. So overall, nice but not great.
Okay. Fair. Fair analysis.
So that's how Charles compares to his predecessors, but how about his contemporaries? European monarchies are largely ceremonial at this point, but they retain a lot of the trappings and symbols of tradition. Everyone still uses some form of monogram or cipher. There are a total of 5 kings in Europe, excluding Charles, and 1 queen. So let's
Oh.
begin with the Scandinavian kingdoms, which account for half of these.
Oh, wow. This is... Okay, we're getting into the territory of... Americans are somewhat familiar with British royalty. I basically have no chance at being familiar with any of these.
Starting with Denmark and the group's only queen, Margareta II. Now, this is what I call a monogram. The M, Arabic, not Roman, numeral 2, and the R all fit together very well, and the
Okay.
balance of space is perfect. It's like a magnificent regal octopus, and with its petal-like delicate...
Octopus. This guy must be have a graphic artist background, because a lot of this video is like a deep actual aesthetic analysis of these ciphers.
design, the stylized crown is rendered fantastically also. As a Swede, it's difficult for me to admit, but this might be the strongest of the bunch. Speaking of which, Sweden's king, Carl XVI Gustav, has a very respectable monogram.
I don't mind this. I don't mind this. It's very strong looking, bold, I guess.
Much more pared back compared to the ostentatious flourishing of the Danes, very lagom, but not without its charm. The way that that Roman numeral tucks neatly under the G's extended beard is very satisfying. Then there's King Harald V of Norway, who has a very modern design for both the crown and monogram.
I don't know what I think of this. That's an H for Harold the Fifth. Is it modern? Yeah, I guess, because it's taking a lot of risks here. It's very edgy, making the H just bisect the 5 like that. I don't know what I think of this. I like that it's doing what it wants to do. And it doesn't care.
The H is very distinctive with its tapered, straight hourglass-like stems and high crossbar bearing the Arabic numeral 5. The crown matches the monogram style with more stylized, squarer forms than the other crowns. Scandinavian countries have a proud design tradition, and these 3 ciphers are all strongly graphic, working particularly well in print. The other 3 kingdoms are somewhat different because their monograms are used less frequently in public and are more often found in embroidered form.
Okay.
Starting with Belgium's King Philippe, his
Ooh, this is elegant, man. That's elegant. That's cool.
monogram is shaped like 2 crossed swords, with the letters
Yeah.
F and P both standing for the name Philippe, but one for the Dutch spelling and one for French.
I like
Then
it.
there's the Dutch king Willem-Alexander, who has a very unusual monogram. The letter forms are hefty and elaborate with exaggerated Tuscan serifs.
You know, I don't mind it when people go outside the box. This is borderline ugly. I'm not gonna mince words, but I love how they were trying to like go for something different. That saves it, in my opinion.
And this central loop. It also needs 2 layers to work, which is certainly quirky. It kind of looks like an A wearing cowboy boots, waving its arms over its head. Finally, we have King Felipe VI of Spain, whose crest looks like it belongs on the back of a leather motorcycle jacket.
Yeah.
The lettering style is completely
Oh my. What a font. What a font. I thought the other ones were out there. This is out there.
wild. It's also unusual for the Roman numerals to be the same size and weight as the rest of the cipher. What I didn't touch on here are the so-called dual ciphers, where royal couples have a monogram combining the letters of both of their names.
Oh.
It's a popular way to sign off Christmas cards from the royal family or for royal anniversary celebrations. However,
Okay.
no cipher designed for the Queen Consort Camilla or the British royal couple have been released for now.
Okay.
Considering just how widely used it will be not only in Britain but around the Commonwealth over the years ahead, I think that King Charles's cipher is a very well-designed example.
I think it's really good. I think it's one of my favorites out of everything he's shown here.
These symbols are part of a long-held tradition, but good design is always truly timeless. Thanks for watching, I hope that you learned something, and feel free to check out my course over on Tuts Plus. Big thanks to
Okay. That's it. Yeah. This was by Linus Bowman. I liked that. That was really good. Very informative. Yeah. I just like... It's super classic. A lot like Elizabeth's was. Super classic. Super nice. Just the right mixture of modern and old school. Perfect. Chef's kiss. Like them. I like those a lot. What did the people say about it? The comments, what did they say? Oh, Queen Margaret of Denmark, she designed it herself. Okay, fair enough. Pretty good. What else we got here? No, I like how Charles' crown has a stronger curve at the bottom, making the crown and lettering relate to each other. Ah, okay, maybe that's why it's so pleasing as well. King Charles Cypher seems balanced, elegant, overall beautiful. Oh, more than Elizabeth's. Hot take there. He likes it more than Elizabeth's. Oh boy. Okay. Most people like it. A lot of people like it. Okay, I like it. This was interesting. I'm glad he went over some of the use cases for this cipher stuff. Because obviously we don't have anything remotely like this in America. The only thing I could relate it to was a business's logo, in which case there's a lot of similarities. You want to make sure you design it so that it can be on a sign, a 3D, like a 3D sculpture or mock-up of the logo on your lawn, company's lawn, or on print materials in 2D, in color, in black and white. You need all this kinds of stuff when you're designing symbols like this. So I'm glad he went over what the heck this is used for in Great Britain, and apparently there's a whole bunch of stuff. It sounds like it's going to be a process to replace the old cipher with the new one, and everyone will have time to get used to it, kinda, but they're both really nice, and I like the new one, so at least it has that going for it. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a like or leave a comment, and if you're interested in more videos like this, me reacting to Britain, the UK, stuff there, the culture, things I've never seen or heard about before, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching, and see you next time.